Welcome to our deep dive into AI in law and justice.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty futuristic,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not just talking theoretical possibilities here.
Right.
You've sent over some fascinating articles and notes
Yeah,
about AI already making waves in courtrooms and even legislative chambers.
that's right.
So are you ready to unpack all this?
Absolutely.
Great.
What I find really captivating is that AI is already being implemented
Yeah,
in various
I
ways,
know. It's crazy.
from like helping lawyers with legal research
Uh-huh.
to being used in risk assessment tools for bail decisions.
Wow.
It's already happening.
It is incredible to think about how quickly this technology is evolving.
Yeah.
One thing that really struck me from these sources is the potential for AI
Okay.
to make the legal system more impartial.
Right.
The idea that algorithms could analyze cases based purely on facts and precedents
Uh-huh.
without human bias creeping in,
Yeah.
that's pretty compelling.
It is.
Right.
And that's what has a lot of people excited about AI's potential in law. Yeah.
But it's important to recognize that AI systems are created and trained by humans.
Okay.
So they're not inherently immune to bias.
That's true.
For instance, if an AI is trained on historical data
Okay.
that reflects existing societal biases,
Yeah.
those biases could be inadvertently replicated in the AI's decisions.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Like that saying garbage in, garbage out.
exactly.
So how do we address that?
Yeah.
If AI isn't a perfect solution for eliminating bias,
Wow.
how can we use it responsibly in the legal system?
That's the million-dollar question.
You know, right?
One solution that's being explored is the development of algorithms,
Okay.
specifically designed to detect and mitigate bias. It's complex,
Yeah.
but essentially these algorithms work by identifying patterns in data
Okay.
that could indicate bias
Yeah.
and then adjusting the AI's decision-making process accordingly.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder,
Mhm.
even if we can tackle the technical challenges of bias.
Are there fundamental limitations to what AI can do in a field like law?
Sure.
I mean, can a machine ever truly grasp the complexities of human emotions, societal values,
Right.
and the very concept of justice?
That's a really profound question.
I know, I was struggling with that one.
And while AI is incredibly powerful when it comes to processing information
Yeah.
and recognizing patterns,
Mhm.
it's still far from replicating the nuanced judgment
Okay.
and empathy that human judges and lawyers bring to the table.
Okay.
AI can help us analyze legal precedents,
Yeah.
identify potential legal issues,
Uh-huh.
but it's unlikely to replace human judgment entirely.
So we're probably not going to see robot judges presiding over courtrooms anytime soon.
Probably not.
Okay, good.
At least not in the way it's often portrayed in science fiction.
Right.
Instead, what we're seeing is a move towards a collaborative model
Okay.
where AI acts as a powerful tool that assists as legal professionals.
Okay, so more like
Yeah.
AI is like a...
Imagine AI handling the tedious task of sifting through mountains of legal documents,
Oh my gosh, yes.
flagging relevant precedents, and even predicting potential outcomes
Yeah.
based on data analysis.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
That sounds like a legal dream team. Human brains plus AI brawn.
right.
But this also raises a fascinating question.
Okay.
If AI can revolutionize legal work,
Uh-huh.
how might it impact lawmaking itself?
Now we're getting into truly uncharted territory.
I like it.
Imagine AI drafting legislation.
Oh, wow.
Spotting loopholes before they become problems.
Okay.
Or even translating legalese into plain English
Yeah.
that anyone can understand.
Right, because who understands that stuff?
Exactly.
It's like reading a foreign language.
It is.
So the potential for AI to make the legislative process more efficient,
Yeah.
transparent,
Uh-huh.
and accessible is immense.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's mind-blowing.
Right.
But if we're talking about AI actually crafting laws,
Okay.
doesn't that bring us back to the question of bias?
It's an ethical consideration.
Exactly.
How do we ensure that AI-generated laws reflect our societal values
Uh-huh.
and don't inadvertently create new injustices?
You've hit on a crucial point.
I try.
One source even poses the question,
Okay.
what's the difference between AI's role in lawmaking
Yeah.
and its role in justice?
That's interesting.
It's a distinction worth exploring
Yeah.
because it forces us to think deeply
Yeah.
about the appropriate boundaries for AI in this realm.
Right.
Where does AI's technical prowess end?
Uh-huh.
And where does human judgment become essential?
That's a question that deserves a deep dive all its own.
Definitely.
But before we get too far down that rabbit hole,
Okay.
let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and talk about something that's been weighing on my mind.
Okay.
The issue of public trust in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring up the Supreme Court.
I know.
The sources we've been discussing highlight a growing concern about declining public trust in the judicial system.
Yeah.
Particularly the Supreme Court.
Yeah. It's been hard to miss.
Right.
It seems like every time I turn on the news, there's another story about partisan divisions and how people are losing faith in the court's ability to act fairly and impartially.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
I know, right? It's so frustrating.
The sources point to several factors contributing to this decline in trust.
Okay.
One prominent factor is the increasing politicization of judicial appointments.
It does feel like Supreme Court nominations have become these high-stakes political battles.
Exactly.
With each side fighting tooth and nail to appoint judges who align with their ideology.
Precisely. It's exhausting. And this intense focus on the political leanings of potential justices can create the perception that the court is more concerned with advancing a particular agenda than upholding the law objectively.
So it's like the confirmation process itself is setting the stage.
For public skepticism about the court's decisions.
It is.
Even before a single case is heard.
That's a very astute observation.
Thank you.
And this perception of politicization can be further amplified by how the media covers the court.
Oh, for sure.
And how politicians use the court's decisions to further their own agendas.
It's a bit of a vicious cycle, isn't it?
It is.
The more politicized the court appears, the more people lose trust.
Right.
And that erosion of trust then fuels further politicization.
It's a concerning trend, to say the least.
Yeah, I agree.
The sources highlight how this decline in public trust has broader implications for the entire judicial system.
Like what?
If people lose faith in the court's legitimacy, they may be less inclined to respect its decisions.
That makes sense.
Which can ultimately undermine the rule of law.
That's a sobering thought.
It is.
What can be done to reverse this trend and rebuild public trust in the judicial system?
That's the big question. The sources mention a few potential solutions, but they all seem to come with their own set of challenges.
Okay.
Right.
So there's no easy answer.
There's no magic bullet here.
Okay.
One idea that's often discussed is implementing term limits for Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Currently, justices serve for life, which contributes to the high stakes of each appointment.
Right. So the idea is that term limits could reduce the intensity of the confirmation process.
Exactly.
And potentially make the court less susceptible to partisan swings.
Precisely.
But, I mean, there are counter-arguments as well.
Of course.
Right.
Some legal scholars worry that term limits could undermine judicial independence. If justices know they have a limited time on the court, they might be more likely to rule in ways that would please those who could reappoint them or those who hold power in the political system.
Yeah, so it's a trade-off.
Exactly.
You might gain a more responsive court.
Right.
But potentially at the cost of judicial impartiality.
Exactly.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
With valid arguments on both sides.
Absolutely.
Another proposed solution focuses on ethics.
Okay.
Some experts suggest establishing a more formal code of ethics for Supreme Court justices.
That's interesting.
Right now,
yeah,
the Supreme Court isn't bound by the same ethical guidelines that apply to lower court judges.
Exactly.
Which has led to some controversy.
You're right.
There have been concerns about potential conflicts of interest and the lack of transparency regarding things like gifts, travel expenses, recusals.
Exactly.
The sources suggest that a clear and enforceable code of ethics could increase accountability and public confidence.
Absolutely.
It seems like transparency is key here.
It is.
The more open and accountable the court is,
the
less room there is for suspicion and distrust.
Absolutely.
Transparency can help build trust.
Right.
But it's not the whole solution.
It's not.
Some sources emphasize the importance of civic education as well.
I agree.
I can see how that would play a role.
Right.
If people don't understand how the judicial system works,
they're
more likely to misinterpret rulings or view the court through a purely partisan lens.
Precisely.
Greater civic education could help people understand the principles of judicial independence, the importance of an impartial judiciary, and the complex factors that go into judicial decision-making.
It's fascinating to see how this discussion about restoring public trust ties back to our earlier conversation about AI in the legal system.
It's all connected.
On one hand, we have AI promising to make the legal system more efficient and potentially even more impartial. On the other hand, we're grappling with this erosion of trust in the very institutions that AI is meant to support.
That's a great segue into the next part of our conversation.
Okay.
Let's dive into how we can ensure AI is used responsibly and ethically in the legal system.
Absolutely.
It's a topic that deserves a deep dive all its own.
Definitely.
It feels like we're at a crossroads. We have this incredible technology with the potential to revolutionize the legal system. But at the same time, we're wrestling with this crisis of trust in our institutions. So how do we move forward? How do we ensure that AI is used to strengthen our justice system?
That's a great question.
Not weaken it.
You framed the challenge perfectly.
That's right.
It's not about simply incorporating AI into the legal system and hoping for the best. It's about being thoughtful and intentional in how we implement this technology. And the sources we've been looking at highlight a few key principles that can help guide us.
Okay, let's unpack those. What are some of the most important considerations when it comes to building trust in AI-powered legal systems?
Well, first and foremost, transparency is paramount. People need to understand how AI systems are being used in the legal process, what data they're trained on, and how decisions are being made. No black box is allowed.
That makes a lot of sense. Mystery breeds suspicion. If we want people to trust these systems, we need to be open and honest about how they work.
Exactly. And alongside transparency, we need accountability. There needs to be a clear framework for who's responsible when AI systems make mistakes or produce outcomes that are unfair or discriminatory. It's not enough to say, well, the algorithm did it.
That's what you said.
We need to have mechanisms in place to identify and address potential harms caused by AI, just as we do with human errors in the legal system.
That brings me back to that point we discussed earlier about AI struggling with complex human emotions and ethical nuances. It seems like there's always going to be a need for human oversight. Even as AI becomes more sophisticated.
Absolutely. The sources strongly advocate for what's often called a human-in-the-loop approach in this model. AI serves as a powerful tool, providing analysis, insights, and recommendations. But ultimately, a human judge or lawyer makes the final decision. It's about leveraging the strengths of both AI and human intelligence.
So it's not about replacing judges and lawyers with robots, but rather giving them a powerful new set of tools to enhance their decision-making. Almost like having a superpowered research assistant working alongside them.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, good.
And this approach isn't just about mitigating risks or ensuring accuracy. It's also about preserving the human element of justice.
Empathy, compassion, moral reasoning. These are qualities that are essential to a just legal system. And they're qualities that AI, at least for now, can't replicate.
It seems like we're talking about striking a delicate balance here.
We are.
We want to embrace the efficiency and potential of AI without losing sight of the core values that underpin our justice system.
Exactly. And that's why education is so crucial.
Okay.
We need to educate the public legal professionals and policymakers about how AI works.
Okay.
Its potential benefits and its limitations.
Okay.
The more people understand about this technology, the better equipped we'll be to use it responsibly and ethically.
It's like what we were discussing earlier about civic education.
Exactly.
If we want people to trust AI in the legal system, they need to understand it. And that education needs to start early.
I agree.
We should be teaching kids about AI, not just as a cool new technology,
but as a force that's shaping their world.
Yeah.
Including the future of law and justice.
I couldn't agree more.
And for those listening who might be thinking, this is all very interesting. But how does AI in the legal system actually impact me?
Well, the reality is that AI is already playing a role in many aspects of our lives.
That's true.
And its influence on the legal system will only grow in the coming years. You might encounter AI in the form of predictive policing algorithms.
Wow.
Risk assessment tools used in bail decisions, or even chatbots offering legal advice.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
And it's changing so rapidly.
Right.
So what's the takeaway?
Well,
what's the one thing you want listeners to remember from this deep dive?
The key takeaway is this. As AI becomes more powerful, the human element becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
It's about finding the right balance between technological efficiency and those irreplaceable qualities of empathy, ethics, and wisdom.
That's powerful.
We need to approach AI with both a sense of possibility and a healthy dose of caution, ensuring that it serves justice, not the other way around.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Ultimately, justice isn't about data points.
Right.
It's about people.
It is.
And as we navigate this new landscape of AI and law and justice, we need to remember that.
That's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
I hope this deep dive has provided you with a better understanding of the complex issues at play.
Yeah.
And sparked some thought-provoking conversations about the future of AI in the legal system.
So we were talking about solutions.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that keeps coming up is this idea of transparency.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is key.
Like, if we want people to trust these AI systems in the legal world, we got to know what's going on under the hood, right?
Exactly. People need to understand how these systems work.
Right.
What data they're trained on, how they're making decisions.
Yeah, no more black boxes.
Exactly. No black boxes allowed.
And along with that transparency, I think accountability is huge, too.
Absolutely.
Like, we need to know who's responsible when an AI system messes up.
Right.
Or, makes a decision that's unfair or biased.
Yeah. We can't just shrug and say, well, the algorithm did it.
Right. Exactly.
We need ways to identify and address those harms.
Just like we do with human errors.
Exactly.
Which kind of brings us back to that point about AI and, those more human aspects of justice.
Right, those ethical considerations.
Right, exactly. Like empathy and compassion and moral reasoning.
All those things that are so crucial to a fair legal system.
Exactly. And it seems like those are things that AI...
At least for now.
Yeah, at least for now.
Can't really replicate.
So it sounds like even as AI gets more sophisticated... there's always going to be a need for human oversight.
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize that human-in-the-loop approach.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
So in this model, AI is like a powerful tool.
Okay.
It provides analysis, insights, recommendations. But ultimately, it's a human judge or lawyer who makes the final call.
So it's not about replacing humans altogether.
No, not at all.
But more like giving them a superpowered assistant.
Exactly. Augmenting their abilities, not replacing them.
And that makes sense, because at the end of the day, justice is about people, right?
Absolutely. It's about fairness, compassion, understanding.
And those are all things that AI...
well, at least in its current form.
Right.
Can't fully grasp.
So it seems like education is going to be a big part of this, too.
Oh, absolutely. We need to educate everyone.
Yeah.
The public, legal professionals, policymakers.
Right. Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Exactly. About how AI works, its potential, its limitations.
So that we can use it responsibly.
Exactly.
It's funny. We were talking earlier about civic education. And it seems like this is another area...
it is.
Where that's going to be so important.
We need to start young.
Yeah, teach kids about AI, not just as like a cool new gadget,
right,
but as a force that's shaping their world.
Their future.
Including the future of law and justice.
Exactly.
And for those listening who might be thinking,
yeah,
well, this is all very interesting, but like,
right,
how does AI in the legal system actually affect me?
Well, the truth is AI is already a part of our lives in so many ways.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about.
And its impact on the legal system is only going to grow.
Right.
You might encounter AI in predictive policing, risk assessments for bail decisions, even chatbots offering legal advice.
Wow. So it's already happening.
It is.
And it's only going to become more prevalent.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want listeners to remember?
The key takeaway, I think, is this. As AI becomes more powerful, the human element becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance between technological efficiency and those irreplaceable human qualities.
Like empathy and ethics and wisdom.
Exactly.
So we need to be thoughtful about how we use this technology. Make sure it's serving justice, not the other way around.
Well said.
This has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has.
It really feels like we're just scratching the surface of something huge.
We are.
And I think it's something that all of us need to be thinking about and talking about.
Absolutely. The future of AI and the future of justice are intertwined.
And as we move forward, it's crucial that we remember justice isn't about data points.
Right.
It's about people.
It's about people, their lives, their stories.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been an incredible journey.
It has. Thanks for having me.